phone and just like drop comments in the chat. Every time I say something smart, I'm just gonna like so true in the chat.
Yeah, do it. All right, what's going on, guys? I'm here with Nathaniel Abbott. He is a contributor to APU. He is also a songwriter. He plays the ukulele. He has his own YouTube channel. I should probably put in the description, and I'll do that right now. But yeah, very popular in the conservative circle. Used to work for John. Still lives in Michigan though, because apparently he cucks for Whitmer. That's what I heard.
It's true. That's very true.
And yeah, I have him on here today. How are you doing?
Dude, I'm vibing. We got as the boys can see, we have the fall aesthetic is in full swing. Actually, let me just turn this. I don't care much. I got some pumpkins up on the shelf. I got some holiday lights behind me. I've got a candle, a vanilla pumpkin. It's good content. We're embracing fall as we should. Get those fall white pills. So we're vibing truly. I got a crab on my shirt. I mean, I don't know if anyone expected that, but it's good content. So yeah.
Yeah, it's great content. Speaking of content, when are you uploading next?
Dude, I am. That's what I'm looking for. I am battling. I am at odds with so many different ideas. Some of which are like truly quite despair-inducing in a like a way as to say like we're just so out of control out of various situations. And then I have like some very just like fun videos queued up as well. And right now I'm just trying to figure out exactly how I'm going to balance all of those. Because like I said, there's some very important topics that I'm going to be discussing that are very like heavy in the sense that I actually need to like do research for them. Like I can't just like say nonsense into the camera, which is normally what I'm used to. Like I want to actually inform instead of just saying nonsense. So I've got some videos like that I'm working on, and I've also got a couple very fun, stupid ones that we're going to try to find a way to balance in all of those. But I'm very bad at figuring out exactly what I want to do. And I'm very ADHD, which means that like I can't actually just stick to a topic. I go back and forth all the time. So we got some time this weekend, though. We're going to be working on some content. Not exactly sure what we're going to get out of it, but hopefully sometime early next week we'll have something. But we'll see.
Yeah. Speaking of like topics, as far as like it pertains to like what we're talking about, what are your thoughts on the GOP's focus as pertains to AOC wearing a dress?
It's there's the balance of like obviously we can criticize the fact that AOC is wearing a dress and the fact that she's going to the Met Gala, which is essentially as far as I can understand just rich famous people throwing a little party for themselves so they can just show off, I guess, with various themes. This year's theme I believe was America, which is why people were getting political. I guess they always get political, but they had extra excuse to get political. So we can obviously complain about the hypocrisy of going to this rich people event wearing a dress that says tax the rich. And she made a big deal about her designer being a woman of color who is also an immigrant. But I believe she like immigrated from like Toronto. Like she immigrated from Canada. I can't remember if that was the city, but she immigrated from Canada. So I don't know if that counts. But there's that take. It's like obviously this person needs to get pushed back for what she did, being hypocrisy. The hypocrisy. But then there's another part of it, which is like the hypocrisy is always going to be like it's obvious. So we almost need to just not give them any more publicity than they already have. We should probably just ignore it. Like I considered making a video about it for various reasons because there was more political statements made than just her dress. But I decided against it for this reason. It's like it's honestly, AOC should be irrelevant, but the only reason she's not irrelevant is because we keep talking about her. So that's my opinion. I think she's irrelevant, so we just need to stop talking about her.
I think the true takeaway as it pertains to like why we're always complaining about hypocrisy is really the power that media control has. That like these people can do whatever and not get pushed back because they're able to control the narrative. And when we have all these people in like the establishment telling you we can't indoctrinate people, so we can't use media control, it really just shows how it pertains to us always losing and why that happens.
Yeah, well, John made that entire video, like the clickbait video that's like the left's hypocrisy or whatever. And then the entire point of that video was that like, obviously, like they are hypocritical because they're in charge. And that's the entire point. So you can complain about the hypocrisy all you want, but you're missing the point. And that's exactly it. Like they're allowed to be hypocritical essentially because they are in charge. They have the establishment, and they're going to continue to be hypocritical and use their power until they don't have that power anymore. So it's almost like these are just this is just how the game is played. So you're complaining about it, but that's just kind of how it is.
Mm-hmm. It's really so cucked as a state as where we are. I mean, it's so cucked. Especially when we have immigrant voters being poured over the border to electorally kill us. We have political prosecution, and we have vaccine mandates. But the people are talking about AOC wearing a dress and a recall that seemed to not be really winnable.
Well, yeah, there's with any media narrative they want to control, there is like a scapegoat, or rather just like something put up as a distraction. I cannot remember exactly what the story was at the time, but when Hillary Clinton went on trial last year for all kinds of various reasons, I can't remember what it was, but there was a very popular story that went up right when that was happening. No one talked about her going on trial at all. So you got to keep in mind that anytime there's like a really big uproar in the media, there's usually something that's being covered up. Right now, I mean, there's all kinds of stuff going on right now. There's like immigrants pouring over the border, just walking across the rivers and such. We see all over Twitter today, and we're all complaining about AOC's dress, as you were just saying. So it's at some point you just gotta like cut through the noise and say, no, we're not going to talk about this bimbo who's wearing this giant fancy dress at some rich people party. No one should care what she thinks because she should be irrelevant. We shouldn't like worry about that when there's actually there's important stuff going on that we're essentially ignoring because we're getting stuck in the weeds here talking about people wearing dresses at fancy parties when, again, like you said, we have immigrants pouring across the border that we're all trying to like give voting rights to. We have like a rally going on in DC right now where there was very obviously like the only people that showed up were the media and I don't know, possible federal agents is what it looked like. Like, I don't know. It's all a mess. You really the more time you spend watching news, the less informed you'll actually be and the more distracted you will be, truly.
Yeah, and it's really funny how much we'll talk about us being sold out to China, or how much we'll talk about China screwing over its own citizens, but we'll never talk about our system screwing over its own citizens, or how our government has been screwing us over. We'll always talk about all these other foreign ones, never ours.
Especially right now when part of the reason that the Chinese government, I guess, is more functional than ours is the Chinese people actually believe in their hearts that the Chinese government has their best interests in mind, even when they, have all these tyrannical rules. But right now, they're actually doing more for their people than our government is. I think they just extended their one-child policy to a three-child policy. They're making it easier for people to buy homes. They are giving people tax breaks for having children. I believe they're setting up these events that people should go to, like if single adults. They're setting up these events that are just like you can meet other people and like they're basically promoting marriage and children and strong families and masculinity and all these things that our media and our government are just like destroying at every turn that they can. So unironically, like the Chinese government is better for their people than our government is to us. And that's really the issue with all these things when it comes to trusting your government, taxation, and all of that, is when someone cannot trust that their government actually has their best interests in mind, they're going to go crazy. Essentially, they're going to see enemies everywhere because that's really what there is. You have the people that you are paying every time that you work, every time you earn a paycheck. Taxes are going to them. They are actively trying to destroy you and your family. Like you're not going to be happy at all.
Mm-hmm. That's really a great point as it pertains to like why we are so focused on different threats and why we feel so threatened about like China and all these countries. And it really pertains to our government hasn't been able to do anything to give us trust in them. They've been, screwing us over at the end. They haven't been caring about us, and they've been caring about all these other foreign countries because frankly, we don't have any trust in them. And a lot of it is for reasons that they have just been failing us.
Well, yeah, and people will always complain about the large amounts of money that go over to seas and foreign aid. with the billions and billions and billions of dollars going to these countries, and we say, okay, well, what would our country look like if we just took all of that money and invested it in infrastructure and all of these different projects? Like, why are we giving so much money overseas when we have a homeless, I believe 500,000 homeless people. So yeah, 500,000 homeless people in our country. About 40,000 of them are veterans, but we're giving billions of dollars to other countries. And all that money truly is not free. Like, nothing's free, especially in politics. All that money essentially goes to like private building projects. Like when we say we give Haiti X amount of $1 million for what's the word I'm looking for? Earthquake aid. That's not going to like feed people. That's going to build sweatshops that like certain corporations in America own. Like, so not only are we giving money overseas to like other countries or just throwing all this money away, it's not like it's actually benefiting those people either. Because in reality, all it's doing is benefiting like the special interest groups in America who are lobbying for this money to go overseas so that they can profit from the factories and sweatshops that they build in these third world countries to get cheap labor. So it's not like we're being compassionate to other people either. We're really just screwing everyone over.
Yeah, I mean, it really comes down to a lot of people in the establishment, even the Republican establishment, are corporations shills. They shill for the corporations and their money. They aren't here to save the country or help the people. They're here to make money. And who's giving them the money? The corporations. So they keep shilling for their interests, which includes all these building projects in different countries and allowing different corporations to move to places like China, Israel, Haiti, different countries that we fund. And we get all that in return. We get nothing. And we don't ever do anything to invest in our country, but we'll do all this stuff to invest in different corporations in their interest.
Yeah, no, it's very tricky to how you regulate all of that. And it's like the debate of how exactly you regulate money in politics. I don't know. I'm not that smart. I don't know the answer. All I know to do is like point at things that are like the issue. I don't know how to actually fix the problem truly. But yeah, no, the system we've created of this debt-based fiat currency with special interest groups and all of that. It's very simply like it's built to make the elites richer and screw over everyone else truly.
So true. I mean, if we've looked at the political landmark of how this country has shifted, back in the industrial revolution, but prior to that, we were truly an intact country, but we started getting all the stuff, all these immigrants, all the stuff because of the political lobbying system that we had that allowed corporations to just take over what they wanted and shape the country how they wanted.
I mean, yeah, anytime a law gets passed, somebody's writing a check. Anytime like a business regulation or like some sort of regulation of the market is going through and getting passed, somebody's writing a check. Because very simply, it's cheap. It's like more cost effective for me as a corporation to write millions of dollars worth of checks to politicians to get something through than it is like, and then use that bill in order to push my competitors out of the market, like create some regulation of the business. Say I'm in the lumber industry, right? I can, I'm like the biggest competitor. I can put a regulation on the lumber industry by paying off politicians that I'm big enough to handle, but my competitors won't be able to. So they'll go out of business or otherwise won't be able to compete with me because of this regulation. But I'm a big enough corporation. I can just like body it, which is the same thing that's happening with all of the push to increase like minimum wage to $15 an hour. Walmart can handle that. Your mom and pop grocery store can't. That's the whole point, is they want to push out all of their competitors. And they do this not by competing fairly in the market. They do this by lobbying politicians for regulations that they can handle and their competitors can't.
I mean, and if they can keep us poor, and if they can keep it to a place where like you can't have just a father working for it to be sustainable, they can get as many workers as they want for their benefit. And the more they can control our income, the more they can just get more workers for their jobs and for the corporation's benefit. And it comes down to like, if you look at the political landscape and how it shifted to where everyone in the household has to be working, and we have all these immigrant workers now, and we're shipping all these jobs towards other countries and giving all this foreign aid. All of it has been done for the benefit of corporations and not for Americans.
Yeah, well, you can take, let's say, a model we had 70 years ago where we have one income earner and one taxpayer per household, right? Now that's great for the American people, of course, and of course, our communities were much more intact and all of that. But you see all these pushes to, not indirectly, of course, to break apart the family and essentially remove us from our social groups, remove us from like our families, and turn us all into individuals, because they want us all to be individual taxpayers and consumers, all living by ourselves, working for just ourselves, paying taxes for ourselves, all of that, no families, which is why there's a push to basically get out of actual family housing and move to apartments and renting and pods and all that kind of stuff. And you don't actually own anything anymore, but you're going to be happy. They want us all to be rent serfs. They don't want us to own anything. They want us to be all compartmentalized individuals, just being good little consumers, buying up our products and working our slave jobs. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. And we're always talking about the fear of communism coming to the nation, but we never talk about what causes it, which is corporations screwing over the citizens on purpose for their own benefit. That's what has always caused communism, Marxism. Marx grew up in a Adam Smith run laissez-faire economy, and the corporations kept screwing over the citizens, so he became a Marxist. And that's what happened here after Industrial Revolution 2. If we really fear this thing, we should also fear what starts it, which is these corporations. But no, we're always framing it as you're either for corporations that are evil or you're for Marxism. There's no in between.
Yeah, well, like I don't have object permanence, so to me, communism doesn't actually exist because I don't see it anywhere. So like all I see is like corporations actively working to destroy the American people and then replace us with third world people who will be more compliant and just do the work for them.
Yep.
So to me, you can complain about socialism and communism all you want. It doesn't exist truly because I don't see it. So like it's just so stupid. Were to say like, oh, we have to regulate these corporations, and again, it's so like even saying this is so cliche at this point. Where oh well, we can't regulate businesses. That would be socialism, or that would be communism. And then there's like that base. I don't know if has anyone's seen this. There's that base take from this like economics professor where he's like, socialism is when the government does stuff. And then the more stuff it does, that's more socialism. And then when the government does a whole bunch of stuff, that's communism. That's like that's as simply how you got to break down economics that simply sometimes. But yeah, no, I don't see it. It doesn't exist. Communism's not real. It's a spook, if you will, if we're going to drop a sterner pill. But yeah.
Yeah, and we got to look at like why is the establishment pushing so heavily on this? And really it comes down to if they can like push heavily on the idea that communism is no corporations, communism bad. It really goes to the benefit of who pays those politicians and who pays those people in the establishment, the corporations. And we've created this whole system, this whole framework for the benefit of the corporations and for the detriment of the American citizens and the people that will end up working again for the benefit of these corporations.
Yeah, I mean, so true, truly. Like it's like there's going to be a ruling class to a certain extent that's going to try to manipulate you and destroy you and suck everything they can out of you. It just depends on what the name is. Like it doesn't really matter what the name is, whether it's communism, socialism, corporatism, whether it's government elite or corporate elites. Like it's all the same, truly. Like it doesn't, again, you can get stuck in the definitions and get stuck in the stuck in the weeds of like different ideologies and such. Like I could say I'm a capitalist, so I am fundamentally against what would be any regulations on the economy, or I'm a socialist, so I'm fundamentally against what would be like private ownership of means of production, anything like that. Like it doesn't, the definitions, those terms aren't real. Like none of that's real. Anything that looks good and it looks clean in an economics textbook doesn't actually apply to real life. So all those terms are honestly meaningless.
Mm-hmm. And it's really a good point as far as it pertains to us always identifying as something. Like people in politics are always like, oh, pull up your political compass test and show me which quadrant you're in. Show me where your dot on this arbitrary graph is. And it really comes down to we have been put in like such an isolationist society, and we have no common culture or common value system that we have to identify as something in order to have some sort of communal, in order to have some sort of community, because we've been totally isolated from each other.
Yeah, that's so true. My least favorite people are the people who like simply identify as either like a Republican or a Democrat. Like Odie, it's like, oh, I'm a Republican. Okay, so obviously you don't know anything about politics in any regard because there's, the first step, there's degrees to this. There's like, absolutely nothing about politics and you just don't care at all. And then there's like a vague not even understanding, like a vague acceptance of a political party or like a political team. And then when someone's political understandings don't go any farther than that, they're truly useless and they're truly just like trying to grab onto some sort of group. And which is exactly what all this stuff is, whether that be like, the vague political parties or LGBT, any of that. We have been so broken apart and so compartmentalized as like individuals. We don't have families, we don't have communities anymore. So people will like vaguely attach themselves to certain teams, certain political teams, which is exactly what they want. But we're looking for some sort of meaning. We're looking for some sort of belonging, which humans like need fundamentally. We're not meant to be individuals. We're always meant to be a part of something bigger, some sort of group. And when all of those natural group structures have been, taken from us, essentially, what people are left with is political ideologies. You have a little interruption there, King?
Yeah, we love it.
Love to see it.
But yeah, it's really like the same thing as like people talking about like what their horoscope is, or talking about astronomy, or talking about like, oh, I'm a
Astrology,
Taurus.
you mean?
Yeah,
Because astronomy's real.
Yeah.
Astronomy's where you actually like look at stars and stuff.
Bad, yeah.
Whether or not stars are real is a different question. But like, I think this astrology is what you're talking about. Yeah.
Yeah, my bad. Like I'm a Taurus or something. It's often the same groups of people that will like be so interested in this test. They'll also take like BuzzFeed tests or something. They're all searching for an identity.
What dessert are you? What brunch dessert are you? That's a good. You gotta go through that test.
You do. You lose your rights if you get the wrong answer.
Yeah, no, you do. You do. If you get a scone and not a blueberry muffin, you lose all human rights instantaneously. Mm-hmm. We're tracking your IP, so answer the questions correctly. I know it's stupid questions like, what's your favorite day of the week and what's your favorite color and like what's your Hogwarts house and stuff, but you answer them wrong, you will face the consequences.
I'd almost want to see that just because it kind of be funny. It suck, but it kind of be funny. I don't know. But yeah, it's really true that like we have been put in such an isolationist individual society, and a lot of it has to do with like the fall of God and like the value system of God rather than like valuing yourself. Because we've been put in a society where we value ourselves over valuing like our purpose, valuing things above us like God. We've been put in like this self-isolationist, self-worship, satanic society where all we've been done is been led to like these impulsive identifications that disregard the actual purpose and the actual identity which we should have, and we would have in a prosperous functioning society, which would be the identity in God.
Yeah, no, we've lost God and replaced it with like this personal egotism of like I can be my own God, which kind of plays along with like the neo-paganist movement is essentially what this is, of all this astrology nonsense, of all the star mapping and all the horoscopes and all of that, which is in and of itself is kind of an ancient practice. Like I think even, you go back to the Bible and the three wise men were like, magician or whatever in the Bible. And they were using star maps to figure out when Jesus was going to be born. That's besides the point, truly. But what we have now are, again, these people who have, whether they grew up in like a strong, Catholic family or something, now they're just like rejecting Christianity outright, whatever, or they just hate their fathers. So they're kind of, they're kind of projecting that into a hatred of God, which of course is also very common. Whatever it is, they're falling into, again, like this new neo-paganist movement of astrology mixed with this like Eastern philosophy of what's that stuff called? The spots on your body where it's all like the energy stuff. You know what I'm talking about? Chakras. So like astrology mixed with like Eastern chakras mixed with like Satanism, just like sprinkled in there on occasion, and Satanism being like non-spiritual in some instances, but also very spiritual in other instances. Like they'll claim that their Satanism is like they don't actually believe in the supernatural, though it looks like it. But that's their guise, is that it's not actually supernatural. But all of this, like you said, is just kind of a cope for a lack of God. Like you see how
Mhm.
like how what the complexities that you need to stack on top of each other to create this facade that kind of fits the mold that like where God should be. It's like those little kid
Mhm.
puzzles with the little the shaped holes and the blocks. Like if you try it hard enough, you could cram that triangle into the square, but it's obviously not supposed to go there.
Yeah, I mean, this whole situation of like seeing all these people that are completely like immoral and don't know their purpose has really vindicated Christianity to me. And it's really shown me, as I put on another live channel, that everyone has a religion and everyone has a want for religion because we've been naturally disposed to have this want for something higher and have a purpose. And everyone has a religion, whether that's worshiping themselves, which is Satanism, worshiping the stars, worshiping science, worshiping the government, or and all this is in lack of the actual religion that we're all striving to, which is the worship of God. And without that, we become this immoral beings that don't know our purpose and really have subservience to these false principles that have led to immoralities and unprosperity.
That's so true, King. Like, unironically, that's one of the biggest issues that we have in this modern day and age. And I said that to like I said roughly that to like an older person one time, and I said that everybody has a god. Like atheists aren't real. Like everyone has a god of some sort, and they put it even more pointedly, which is like everyone has a god shaped hole in them that needs to be filled by
Mhm.
something. Now, obviously, if it's a god shaped hole, it'd be best, God will, that's it. Don't worry about that. I just dropped the thing. I just dropped the lighter that I use for my candle.
Still
But
spinning it.
but point being is if you don't have God, like you're saying, you got to just like mash all of these weird things together to try to cram that into the whole, so you like have a sense of meaning where obviously God would just fit perfectly. So you got to take astrology and chakras and Satanism and BuzzFeed quizzes, and you just cram those all together, and it's not going to do the job, but you just kind of have the facade, though, I suppose.
And it's really vindicated the point that you're either a servant to God or you're a slave to Satan. It's really
Mm.
just vindicated that point that if you are not worshiping God, you're going to be worshiping something else, worshiping something false. In essence, a false God, what they warned us about. And what that happens from is this isolation society. Again, as they warned us about, they told us, love your neighbor as yourself. What that really means is don't care about just yourself, care about others, be communal. And that's what the Bible warned us about, is that once we become this isolationist, we start worshiping these false principles and we start worshiping false gods. And that's really what's happened and has led us to this neo-revelationist society.
I really want to cue into the point you said there about like being a servant to God or being a slave to Satan. With the with this rejection of God, of course, and the rejection of the Father and all of that, there is a certain inability to subject yourself to the authority of something higher, which of course comes with the egotism of the modern day and age of being your own God and all of that. Like really what it is, and this is not just like God is the ultimate authority, and then of course like there's like the Father being like a step down from that, and then there's like any boss you would any authority you would come across in real life. With all these people, they have like a vague understanding of like communism, socialism. They use as like a bludgeon tool of like just being against authority in general, being against hierarchy. And really what that stems from, like you were just saying, is they simply will not submit themselves to the authority of God because of some egotism where they think themselves as a God, or there's which is partially insecurity too, is why you'd
Mhm.
have like an egotism like that. But really what it is they refuse to submit to anything higher, which is why they reject God and why they reject hierarchy outright. Is they
Yep.
reject the premise of something or someone being better than them,
Mhm.
which is truly like a sign of a well-adjusted man, and a man who's got his head on straight, is his ability to submit to a competent authority in some regard, whether it just be like, you are better than this, better at this than me, therefore you will lead, right? Just that simply is something that these people, you don't have that if you don't have God. And that's of course something that every man needs to understand, is that you are not the best at everything. You're probably the best at nothing, truly.
Mhm.
And in many situations in life, there will be men who will be more competent than you at various things. And when that comes around, if you are not able to, basically submit to what would be like their competent authority in some regard, and of course, it's whether or not that authority is competent is a different story. But like if you're not able to submit to authority in any regard, it's because of like a deep insecurity and usually rejection in God too.
It's really a great point, and it comes down like you're really big on masculinity, which is good. It's really died in this country, and people have been taught, men need to have feelings. What do they mean on that? They don't mean that like men didn't have feelings before. The most masculine men absolutely had some depth to them. People don't have depth now, and that's really what they mean. It's like men should have feelings in the sense that they should have gratification. They should search for it. They should search for people to give them love and be like, it's okay, so they can create this self-worship mindset that facilitates this atheist society. And that's really what has facilitated it, is these weak men that are looking for gratification. And that's really been what's happened, is that we're all looking for something higher, but we don't know what that higher thing is because we've been taught, oh, God isn't real in all the education systems. And we've been taught all this nonsense that has facilitated us being weak and being subservient to these different corporations and these different governmental structures that want to control us.
Yeah, and to cue into that point too, where you're referring to in terms of like men having emotions and being and feeling and all of that. It's been corrupted to the sense where like it's not just like, oh, men can have emotions too. That's not what it is. It's like men, like being strong is weakness, right? Being strong and being proud and not crying in certain situations, whether like excuse me, they're basically saying that that's a weakness, right? When in reality, it's like as a man, if you have people you are responsible for, there are certain situations where you cannot be emotional. You cannot be weak. Like if you're like, the example I always use, if you're a man and you lose your job, right? You can go hang out with your friend and be emotional with him, and in that male space, that's really what like men can traditionally have been able to be weak, is like in the presence of other men in that space or confessional or anything like that. It's like you lose your job, you go hang out with your buddy, you're emotional with him, you talk it all, you figure that stuff out. But then you go home to your wife and kids, you don't be emotional in front of them because they rely on you. So it's not that men can't be emotional. It's that men need to be able to be strong in those situations when people rely on them. And that's when they cannot be emotional. That you can't, it's not that men can never be emotional ever. It's the context there. And truly what it is we've gone so far in the other direction where men are so publicly emotional in such disgusting ways, where there rightfully is just the pendulum is swinging all the way back, where it's like just pure stoicism, which is good too. Well, stoicism is based, obviously, but it's like there's a balance to all things, but we're so far on one end of the balance. The pendulum has swung so far in one direction that we're swinging all the way back over, which right now is a good thing.
Yeah, it's really such a reaction that we've had. I mean, most men in modern society, if they were put in this like situation where they have to save their wives and kids, they wouldn't stand up. They'd cower just like the wives and kids.
Oh
We've
yeah,
been so emasculated. And again, why do they want to emasculate us? What's the purpose for that? It's really that they don't care about us, and they care about having power. They care about this whole money laundering system that continues their power and continues their control over us. And if they can keep us weak, they can keep us from being prosperous and from actually going against them.
well, because the man is like the protector and the leader of the family. So if you want to break apart the family unit, the quickest way to do that is to destroy the man, like destroy the head of the family. And I mean, that's exactly what they've been doing. So that's the whole point. Like we were talking about earlier, they want to turn this all into individuals and individual consumers. We're not part of a family unit or anything like that. They want to break us apart into individuals. The quickest and easiest way to do that is you destroy men, you destroy masculinity, you destroy the natural leaders of the family, and then the family will of course crumble because of that. Like very simply, for every girl who has daddy issues, right, who's going to be incapable of submitting to the authority of her husband and like having a proper healthy family in that regard, there was a man who didn't do his job. There was a man who was not present physically or emotionally, whatever that was. For every single mother, I dropped my lighter again. For every single mother, there was a man who got a girl pregnant and then left, right?
Hmm.
All of the issues with women and families like come from us. Like men are the ones who are really the root cause of those problems. But that's the big part of what we need to do is just like embracing that, just like acknowledging and embracing that responsibility. But like you were saying earlier, if you want to turn humans, you want to break us all up into individuals and remove our social structures, you attack men, you destroy men. The easiest way to do it.
And they've been really attacking like inner conflicts and inner interests that humans have naturally, such as like men having this interest to self-propagate themselves by furthering their gene pool and furthering their family. They use that by promoting different sexual stuff, pornography. They use that in order to get us to stop mating and to get us to stop having actual kids. So they're like indoctrinating our own inner beliefs in order for their own power to create this like neo anti-nuclear family-esque society. And they also do that with like, as we were talking about earlier, as pertains to like them using our inner drive for something higher, and then they'll like numb us with like BuzzFeed quizzes and identitarian like movements in order to use our inner wants for their own propagation and to weaken us. And that's really what they've been doing across the whole last 100, maybe even 150 years.
Yeah, well, the point to cue into with like pornography and sexuality is you take something that's like very simply, you take something that's beautiful and creates life, and then you sterilize it, right? So, which would be exactly what we do with birth control and all of that, and then you take away what would be the immediate consequences of an act, which would be pregnancy, right? You take away those immediate consequences, and then you replace them with the consequences that most people aren't smart enough to see because they're not smart enough to look that far into the future, which is disease and degeneracy and all of these other. Again, can't come up with a really smooth list right there, but you get my point. You remove the immediate consequence and you replace it with consequences that people aren't smart enough to see, which are things that happen farther down the line. You take away the consequence of pregnancy and you replace it with the family structure collapsing and the single mother rate being like in the 70, 60, 70% at this point, like nationwide. In the Black community, it's even higher than that. But that's essentially what they've done is they know that we're stupid. And I don't know, get all skits and say how far do they think all this through. But people aren't really smart enough to see the consequences of their actions that far ahead, truly.
Yeah. And they've really, I mean, people always talk about how people in government are so stupid. No, they're really a genius in how they've like propagated the systems for their own benefit and how they've propagated us to being these beings that aren't able to understand this and always distracted by AOC's dress while our whole society is being killed off. And it's really a society of a death cult that has propagated this identitarian-esque society that has worshipped the self over worshiping community and keeping us all together, keeping us under something similar, keeping us under a hierarchy. They've made us all these individuals so they can further their own demise. And if you look at like why they've done this, if they can keep us naturally disposed from prosperity, they can create the society of despair. And you can really observe how that's happened. If you look at like our suicide rates, single motherhood rates, crime rates, you can look at how we've become a society of despair because we have been naturally disposed from our natural positions. We are not living as we should, and we are not living in like a occupancy as we were made to be. We are being disposed from our natural place, and we've seen the reaction of that over the last whatever years, and seen people become sad, depressed, suicidal, hating. We've seen people become impulsive, and that's really what's happened is that our society and our standards have been killed off for the propagation of these people, and we've seen the society of despair erupt.
Yeah, and really what you're seeing is the two-tiered method of creating a problem and then selling a solution, rather like a not a solution rather, but a treatment for that problem, which is exactly what you see with so many of these illnesses, with depression and stuff. Like we create a system that creates mental and physical illnesses through our poisoned food, the poisoned air, like our just destroyed social systems, and then you patent and sell treatments for that. A very like the plainest example of this that I'm going to be at some point putting into a video in the near future is we destroyed our land via the during the Dust Bowl, which was before World War II, right? We didn't do the proper crop rotations that we've been doing for thousands and thousands of years of agricultural knowledge. We throw that out the door. We basically instead of using proper crop rotations and giving the soil rest and all of that, we instead realize that with the demand of World War, the petroleum and all that ending in World War II, we can process those chemicals and turn them into chemical fertilizer, and then spray that chemical fertilizer onto our plants. Right. The thing is, we've created a problem, which is we're not properly regulating how we handle culture, and then we create a solution for that problem, which is chemical fertilizer. But that chemical fertilizer, of course, weakens the plants and makes them unable to protect themselves from insects and weeds and all of that. So then you created another problem, which then you create another solution for, which is chemical pesticides, which we're seeing are now causing all kinds of illnesses. Dementia. I'm going to be covering all of this sooner than later. Dementia, autism, Parkinson's, like all of these diseases that we are creating from the solutions that we created to handle problems that we created from like another solution. All the time, like money's being made this entire way. So you create a problem, you create a solution for that problem, you patent a solution for that problem, that solution creates another problem, and then you patent a solution for that problem. All in all, we are getting sick and killed and screwed over, and all these people are, all the people in charge here are making a lot of money. So, and there's so many instances of that all over our modern world, where we are essentially being poisoned and then sold treatments to not cure, but just to treat the poison that's eventually going to kill us. Truly.
And that whole cycle is really reign true if you look at like what's happened. If you look at like they created this disparity, they created this oppressed culture. So what they say as their patented solution is watch pornography and get laid, which continues their power. If we look at like even when it looks at like terrorism and this neoliberal, neoconservative warlike culture, they created this problems with like 9/11 and stuff by interfering in different countries, and then they're like, oh, here's a solution, more sending our soldiers to die in the sand at different countries, and then we have a different solution to that. Now that we've pulled out, we're gonna have to give refugees so we can kill off the culture, and then there'll be another solution for that, and they're just gonna keep patenting their own solution to give their own power.
Yeah, and there's a tricky balance between attributing malintent versus just like ignorance. But at this point, it's like there's no way this is just simple ignorance. So like we're just saying, we go into a country like Afghanistan, and we try to liberalize a group of people that the only way you could get them to adopt Western liberal beliefs is if you killed all of them and then indoctrinated their children. Like that's it. That's the only thing you can do. So we go in there, and what are we going to do? Establish democracy here in a country that like 99% supports Sharia law. You're going to establish democracy there. Yeah. So we create this problem. We bomb a bunch of kids and civilians, and then we do a terrible job, pulling out our military presence. And all of a sudden, there's all these refugees. What do? We guess we got to bring them to America. Because we got to bring what 200,000 Afghani refugees. That's what they want to do. It's ridiculous. Again, all of these, if they, of course, if they brought them over, they'd be blue voters because they know what they're doing in most cases. Again, you can say there's always the balance between ignorance versus malintent, but right now I think it's very much malintent.
And I mean, we've really observed whether it's ignorance or malintent, it really comes down to the people that we put in power and have propagated do not care about us. They don't care about our well-being. They don't care about the bottom line of us. They care about having free dental, and they care about their own benefits as it pertains to being in power. And they keep creating these solutions to these problems that further their power by killing off the nation and killing us. The more that, like they say when they talk about big pharma, they say the more patients they can keep untreated, the more patients they have, the more money they make. The more patients the government keeps untreated and keeps in despair, the more power they have and the more money that they can make. And it comes down to, like, again, the political lobbying system and how that's propagated. But really how it comes down to is they have been cultivating our demise as it means to their power, and have been cultivating all these issues that all the surface level people will parrot and parakeet as the biggest issue. Our biggest issue is that these kids are getting bombed in Afghanistan, when really all that's really happening is we're getting bombed ourselves, but not by actual bombs. We're getting our whole life killed by this intergroup propaganda apparatus that has propagated this unprosperous lifestyle that kills us and kills our morale.
To cue into the like talking about the like big pharma and such, what we have is we have a
Mhm.
system where we create a you know the patent for insulin was sold for $1 because the inventor said like he wanted this doesn't belong to me, this belongs to the world, right? Now I don't know who bought it or how that happens, but now we have in America, and someone can look, fact check this, but like the price of insulin is ridiculous. It's like $100, something like that. When it costs to make a single vial of insulin, it costs I think $2, something like that. That basically the disparity between the cost and the disparity between the cost and the price is absolutely insane. So we have a life-saving important drug like insulin, and these companies say, curing people is actually not a sustainable business strategy. Treating them is. So giving them a treatment is not the same as giving them a cure, of course. And we have a system where these pharmacy companies can lobby the government to create all these regulations in their market so that they can sell insulin for hundreds of dollars. When you go across the border in Canada, it sells for like $5 a vial, right? For this vial of insulin, which again, life-saving medication. If you don't have insulin, you die. So we've basically created this system where we are going to allow these companies to screw us over and charge us hundreds of dollars for life-saving medication and create these monopolies via government regulation. Like people are going there's going to be inherent evil in that regard, and if it's not controlled, it's going to hurt people and kill people, which is exactly what we're seeing. And we just allowed this to happen, truly.
Yeah, I mean, again, it comes down to that system as it pertains to like giving the solution to the problem, and the solution to that problem to propagate their own power over us. And really, the key takeaway from that is that we are their slaves right now. We are not prosperous. We are not individual people in any sense. I guess we're individual in the fact that we can have our own creative destruction, but we're not individual in the fact that we're actually not being controlled. We're being controlled by these people that are making us this horrible, unprosperous system and are keeping us as their slaves. And it's really the key takeaway from this is that as it pertains to like, why don't tech companies, for example, why don't they censor people like the more prominent conservative voices? Why don't they censor them? Well, if they censor them, then they're not going to have us being focused on things like AOC's dress. They're not going to have us distracted if they censor them, because they work for them. But if they censor people that will call them out, people that were be more masculine and hate this slavery culture and embrace the Bronze Age mindset, they want to ban people like us. And that's why they really cuck against us and cuck for these tech companies and talk about private companies and their rights or whatever. But they'll never talk about our human rights and our abilities to facilitate our own life. They'll be like, oh, companies can facilitate their own life. They can facilitate what they do in their company, but they'll never talk about us facilitating what we can do in our home and having a prosperous life, because we've created this system that has ultimately had this propaganda apparatus that uses different voices that are controlled, different narratives that are controlled in order to further our destruction and our demise as it pertains to keeping them in power and keeping us from ever stopping them.
Yeah, to cut through all the nonsense, to cut through the weeds, really what it is the people you think are in charge, the people you see on the news and in the government, such that they're not actually in charge, truly. Those people are being controlled by, of course, corporations and special interest groups and overseas tech billionaires and all that kind of stuff. And really what you got to understand is the people that are actually making the rules, the people that are making the important decisions, they see you as no more than cattle, truly. And they'll admit this if they're honest. Of course, they've got the Georgia Guidestones and such that say they want to, essentially remove like over 90% of the Earth's population to in balance with nature, which again is their whole ploy for, whatever their satanic agenda truly is. But at the end of the day, like I said, you need to realize that they treat you and they think of you as cattle, and then take that and then look at how we treat our actual cattle. And that's all you really need to know.
That's really such a good point. You're very good at these metaphorical understandings as it pertains to cultivating the system. A lot of people would be like, he just posted random things like smart appliances is bad. But there's really a meaning behind it as it pertains to the importance of the movement.
If you don't see the meta overarching message in the things I say, you're simply not smart enough to comprehend it. Truly, that's all it is. I've had people say it's like, your videos are kind of funny, but like they just don't really like make any sense. I'm sorry, that's just I guess they just don't make any sense, huh?
Yeah.
And that, again, it's important. It's an important point. They think of you as cattle. Look at how we treat our cattle. Thousands of years ago, proper animal husbandry. The animals would be in their natural environment, essentially, grass fed, free range. The animals were happy, and that's important because the quality of the animal's life is actually, I believe, is reflected in the quality of the product itself. Now, instead of having these happy animals that live respectful lives, and I'm not a vegan, obviously, but I truly believe that life needs to be respected, including like animal life, right? Like if you're going to raise animals to be slaughtered and killed and eaten in, feed your family, you respect them while they're alive. But what we have is, pigs, for example, we keep them in these cages. And then, I don't know if this is coming on, I'm going to talk about this in the video I'm going to be making sooner than later. We feed them actual garbage. We grind up our food waste from fast food, plastic included, and we feed them actual garbage. And then we slaughter them on conveyor belts. And like I said, these elites, they think of you as no better than this cattle. Let's just keep that in mind.
Yeah, I mean, as pertains to like we're always talking about like what happens without a father in the household in this emasculated, this emasculated hierarchy. You'll then treat your children in that same way. You'll carry that over. In that same way, you can observe with like sheep, for example, what happens when the people that are our shepherds right now, which is like this government structure, and they treat us horribly. They feed us trash. They don't allow us to have this prosperous grass. They feed us trash. That same way, when we're feeding sheep, we're going to carry that over because we have had this idea of like how hierarchy works, which is this way that cultivates a unprosperous lifestyle.
Yeah, and I'm not going to get the wording exactly, but like in a proper hierarchy, like respect and authority, like it goes up, right? So you give someone a threat, you give someone respect, you submit to their authority, and then compassion and fairness like comes down, I suppose, in order for that to be like a proper system. That's probably not the exact wording I should use, but with all things is like if any authority that doesn't respect those underneath them like will eventually collapse because it's corrupt. And that's the whole like Jordan Peterson bit of like if you have a tyrant ape, tyrant chimpanzee, he will very quickly get taken out by a duo of chimpanzees who will just take over his authority, who will then probably most likely run more fairly. But like a tyrant won't last. And what we're seeing here is we're seeing tyrants. The thing is, though, the extra variables. What if you have a tyrant ape that's also manipulating the food and water supply to basically turn us into little drones? What happens if the tyrant ape has the power over the food and water industry and is like basically numbing our brains and making us stupid? It's an extra variable that doesn't really apply to the Jordan Peterson ape thing. So I don't know what to do with that one.
Sorry, I was blinking towards it. Someone in chat said blink twice if this is live. So I was blinking, so I don't really know how much I picked up on what you said.
I don't know what the delay is, but we are live. So I'm speaking, and then you're seeing us speak like a matter of seconds, truly, depending on the speed of your internet. That's really the question. How fast is your internet? Everybody drop your pings in chat. I don't know.
Everyone drop your IP so you can...
drop your IP and your pings in chat, please.
We're really probably like 5 years off if we don't turn the tide. Maybe not even 5, probably like 2, because they've already started this and like certain things of being all kicked off the internet. Like they started kicking off like, abortion websites, anti-abortion websites. They started kicking those off. And there's some stories of them actually kicking conservatives off Wi-Fi. They freeze our bank accounts. They've cultivated this system to where we rely on them. And then they can use that to then kill us and kill our movement.
Yeah, what happens when, of course, we're going to be careful with the language we use here, but what happens when you don't take the cope shot and you can't access your bank account?
Yeah.
Or you don't take the cope shot and you can't buy groceries, or you can't actually work. Which someone pointed this out to me in an Instagram thing. I didn't realize. I don't know why I was so stupid to not notice this. But what's the whole thing in the mark of the beast in the Bible? It's like one cannot buy or sell without the mark or something like that. And now they're just telling again. I'm not a schizo conspiracy theorist. I don't even have my tinfoil hat with me, but they're basically saying like, oh, you're not going to be able to buy or sell anything without the VAT, with the thing we're not allowed to say. I don't know. It's kind of sus. But what are you going to do, right? When the structure that be does not allow you to participate unless you abide by their rules, and those rules fundamentally disagree with you, right? Like how willing are people actually to sit outside of that power structure and actually like be a rebel? That's the question.
Mm-hmm. And again, why they emasculated us? Why have they kept us from going against them and kept us subservient to them? Is in order to cultivate their own power. Same reason they want us to mandate all this stuff and make us all compliant. And as long as we can get coped by, they want to. At least we still have our guns. As long as you can get coped by something like that, we're going to continue to allow all this stuff to happen because we have this narrative that's telling us everything's fine, everything's cool. And it's cool because you have choice and because you are free to your own will. And it's like, not that's even cringe if we are free to our own will. But even if we were, which we actually aren't, we're being cultivated towards these unprosperous things. We aren't free to, have one child. We aren't free to having one parent work. We aren't free to, making our own choices as it pertains financially. We aren't free to making our own religious choices. We aren't free to going to church because, cup cooties, whatever. We're not actually free in any sense. And as it's been pertained in the narrative is an absolutely just false discussion versus like freedom and tyranny, whenever what's actually happening is the actual solution to this is a system that actually cares about us, which is going to have to, at least in some way, be more powerful in order to its own system. It's going to have to some way be more powerful than this current system in order to actually take it over. And that's really the only solution here. And we're being fed this like false discussion that tells you we either have small government, big government, and as pertains to the real dichotomy is bad government or good government, not small or big government. The real dichotomy, bad or good government, Satanist government or godly government. Right now we have the Satanist government.
I would say explain a little bit more because you can't really just say good or bad. That's a little too vague. You got to really say like a government that exists for the betterment of the people and like God, or a government like you just said that exists to manipulate and destroy the people and essentially like an arm of Satanism. Because that's really when we say like these elites and stuff. At the end of the day, a lot of these people I think are actually Satanists. Truly, you just look at what they do. Like I think they might be Satanists. So. That's really what this is we take a system that's corrupt, right? It's corrupted by evil at every step, at every stage, at every level. And the question is, what exactly are we going to do to destroy this authority truly, because it's corrupt and it's trying to kill us all and make us all infertile for whatever weird death cult that they have going on there. So yeah, that's really what this is. And it's kind of funny how you're talking about like freedoms and such earlier in terms of like, you have the you have the freedom to be a single mother, you have the freedom to be a slave to your desires and all these things where it's like almost like the Orwellian freedom of slavery is actually like true, where you're free to destroy, you're free to become corrupted via vice and destroy yourself via the indulgence of your own desires. That's really what this is. That's what modernity is.
Yeah. That's what we've become as a society. We've become this unprosperous death cult that worships Satan, doesn't worship God, doesn't have nation, doesn't have hierarchy, in order to cultivate this own self-worship and this own neo-androgynous culture that is unprosperous and facilitates our own destruction. Again, it goes back to that sheep talking point and that metaphor. In the same way that, like, if you'll carry over how you were treated as a parent to your further societies, you're going to carry over how you treat others as people have treated you. And we have become these slaves to the system that hates us. And as a result, we've seen people treating others awful. Why do people want to cancel everyone? And why do people always want to hate everyone? It's because that's what our system has been doing to us. This system has been trying to cancel us, facilitate a horrible lifestyle for us. So as a result, we are trying to facilitate an awful lifestyle for other people because we've been given this culture that cultivates this structure and our understanding of like what power should do to people, which is to hate on them and ruin their whole life.
To pull the essence out of what you just said, essentially what we're doing is we're living in a world where we are living in cages that we built and that are protected and guarded by ourselves. We are the makers of our own destruction. We are the builders of our own prison, is what this is. And anytime you see someone, we're like crabs in a bucket. When someone tries to get out, we all pull them back down. And let's mix the crabs in a bucket analogy with the frog in the pan analogy, and that's us. We've created our own prison that we're living in, and it's slowly getting worse and worse every single day. But we're all just sitting there thinking like it's okay because we're all free. We're all free to embrace our own destructive desires. We're all free to indulge ourselves in vice. And we're all just going to sit here until we slowly rot away and die, truly. And the prison that we've created, the bars don't exist. They're not there. They're only in our minds.
Yeah, I mean, I think it was no, it was Elijah Schaefer's wife Kessia that said this. And it's like we have the society where the doors are being locked, but even when they're being open, people are pulling each other down to not allow us to go through it. We are being like held down by different communities because we have been taught by different hierarchies above us that is how we should treat others and how we should treat people we have power over. And that's how we've facilitated it. I mean, we're always talking about like people are always talking about like the children in cages. What about us being in cages? We're in cages right now. We're always talking about how different governments like trying to treat their citizens. We never talk about how we're treating our citizens, which is truly not any better.
Yeah, well, it's exactly what cancel culture really is the mob. Like it's all of it's all of the other prisoners keeping all of the other prisoners in line is what this is. Like don't there's actually a perfect they do a scientific experiment, right? Where they hang a banana from the ceiling and then or rather they put it on basically there's a ladder in the center of a room where monkeys like chimpanzees can climb to access the banana. But what they do is when a monkey tries to climb the ladder to get to the banana, it electrocutes all of them. So they all learn that if someone tries to climb the ladder to get to the banana, everyone gets electrocuted. And what they can do is they can actually remove the chimpanzees one by one until none of them were originally there to get electrocuted, but they all understand fundamentally that if someone tries to climb the ladder, they'll get electrocuted. But that's not true anymore. There's no electrocution. But what happens is, you take one monkey out, you introduce a new monkey. The new monkey tries to climb the ladder. All the other monkeys attack that monkey, right? So now the mental system that's being built in is if I try to climb the ladder, I get attacked. So in reality, the actual barrier doesn't exist. It exists all in our minds. There's no electrocution anymore. But if the monkeys try to climb the ladder, they will attack each other and hold each other down. That's the world we live in right now.
Yeah, we're living in this culture as it propagates. So like, not only is the system keeping us down, but the society is keeping us down. Their slaves are keeping us down. Like we currently are the minions to like Joker. We are Joker's minions. We are like propagating
what
like you know all the villains, like super villains, they always have minions that operate for them, like we're their fighting force. We're the ones that go die on the sand, and we're like we are the people that are keeping others down.
One must be in the wreckage, brother. That's that stuff.
Yeah, we are operating as like their servants and what they want us to do. And that's the same reason they have like this cancel culture, because that's what they want to do. But like if they actually do it on a surface level, if they actually cancel people on the surface level, a lot of the more surface level people would actually notice that because they're being taught this like big government message or whatever. So they're facilitating this like corporation movement and this like different societal movements that propagate the system to where we are operating as their slaves and as what they want us to do.
Well, it's so interesting to see, like, if you take it, if we all just stopped wearing our cope shields, they couldn't do anything about it. Like, if we all stopped doing it, there's so many. Yeah. It seems like every other day I see a news article of essentially some airline flight attendant going absolutely insane and being an insane tyrant, because that's what happens when you give people power. And like the last one I saw is they kicked a family off that they were already in the air. A 2-year-old was having an asthma attack. Now, when you're having an asthma attack, obviously it would be not beneficial to have something obstructing your breathing, right? So a 2-year-old, who I believe is already like under the list of, like, people under 2 don't need to, kids under 2 don't need to wear the cope shields anyways. But I believe that's the rule. But a 2-year-old was having an asthma attack and obviously couldn't wear their cope shield. So the flight attendant ordered to have the flight turned around and kicked the family off the plane. Now, I'm left to wonder, was there an entire plane of people that had nothing to say about that? Is there an entire plane of people that's like, it's like, excuse me, look, Mrs. Flight Attendant lady, you're going to kick a family off the plane because a 2-year-old is not wearing their cope shield while they're having an asthma attack? That's insane. Like, what happens? Like, what are they going to do? They're going to kick all of us off the plane. They're going to put this all on the no-fly list. Are they going to tell us we all can't fly? What if we all just stopped wearing our cope shields, right? But we all don't, because we all are subservient to this idea that if we climb the ladder, we're going to get attacked for reasons we don't understand anymore. But all we know is you can't climb the ladder. You can't take off the cope shield. So it's very simple. Like, we are the ones, we are the ones who are creating our own rules at this point. So
yeah, I mean, I think it was Lawrence Hunter that made the point that what cancel culture is it's antithetical towards like Christian forgiveness and the idea of that. And what we can really extrapolate from that as people is that we are operating currently as what the political system wants us to do. They want to stop people like Owen Schroyer that will talk against them. They want to like control this system and then use narratives and control the narratives, control like what goes viral on Twitter and all this stuff in order to cancel who they actually want canceled, and use this like propaganda system to actually stop us from having any success.
It's almost at a point with that where you got to be suspect of like anyone who doesn't get kicked off, or anyone who isn't like regulated to a certain extent. Like, I personally, like, I play ball with big tech. I've never really had any issues because my videos aren't strictly partisan. Like, I'm talking about iPad kids. No one's going to really throw up any red flags about that. But like, it almost gets to a point where like being removed, being banned gives you a certain credibility. Now, of course, it also makes you very difficult to reach, especially if you're off of everything. Like, some people are off of YouTube, some people are off of Twitter, some people are off of everything. Like, it makes you harder to reach, but there's almost a certain air of credibility that's given to you where, like, which I don't think they understand, where it's like if someone's kicked off the internet, kicked off social media, there's probably a reason for it. The thing is, though, the balance with that, of course, is that, especially if you're off of something like Twitter, is the discussion happens on Twitter. Where everything happens is Twitter, truly. Like, that is the social media site where everything happens. So if you're not on Twitter, you're not in the discussion, very simply. Like, how often does somebody who's no longer on Twitter get brought up on Twitter? Occasionally, because they say, oh, this person was banned. But like, you are not in the discussion anymore. You have been kicked out, which is why there's, a debate of, which I think is, why we should really move to make these things public utilities. Because if you're not on Twitter, you're not in politics anymore, very simply. Or if you are, you can exist on these other platforms. Like I said, where the discussion happens is on Twitter. So they know if they remove you from this, they're effectively removing you from that discussion.
Yeah, I mean, they've created this whole system again to facilitate their own message. They are controlling the message as it means to controlling us. They are using like us to cultivate their message in the same way. Like, they don't have the power with the mass thing. They are using people and facilitating this like narrative structure that uses us as their slaves. And unless we can start to wake up people to this, it's going to continue as this, and it's going to continue under this narrative that's completely controlled, and will call out all this stuff relative to like hypocrisy, but will never call out the actual hypocrisy that's going on, which is the fact that these people are talking about how they're, they're working for us. They're, these Republican conservative gods, and they're going to fight the system. That's the true hypocrisy, is these people that are really working for the system. They're talking about how they're going to fight it, and they're going to fight big government. They're going to take it on. But when you look at like what they're doing and why they aren't censored by the things that big government actually controls, such as social media, why they're never censored by that is because they're controlled by it, and they are working as their servants.
John put this very. I don't know if you said this in the video now, but it's explicit force versus like implied force.
Mm-hmm.
I think that's what he said in terms of like there's really no power that they actually have to make everyone wear masks, truly, but it doesn't matter. Like the implied force is there. So everyone wears masks because there's like this looming threat. Whether or not it actually exists doesn't matter. But that's exactly what this is like I said earlier, we have an implied force here and we have people building our own cages, like we said earlier.
Mm-hmm. So I'm reading chat. Half of them are Fed posting and the rest are complaining about the Mammoth server.
Okay, come on. If you have complaints, actually, can I pull up? Here's what we're gonna do. We're gonna pull up the YouTube live stream on my phone here, and then we're gonna look at these chats. If you have complaints about the Mammoth server, direct those to my moderators, please. I do not control them. I don't have. This doesn't plays. Mammoth server is basically Twitter. So true. They ban based people. That's actually not true. Okay. Again, I can't regulate these people. Like I said, I don't have time. As we were talking about before the show, let's make this all professional sounding before the show. Does being banned from the Mammoth server give you credibility? I don't know. I'd say maybe, probably not. But yeah, whatever. I'm not fielding any complaints about the Mammoth server. So sorry.
Okay then. Yeah, I mean, we've created the system as we were talking about earlier. Again, we'll keep going to it. We don't serve God. We don't serve the things that are actually important that we're meant to serve. We're serving the government. We're serving Satan. We're serving people that hate us. We are serving things that have facilitated our own destruction rather than serving the true thing that is the actual prosperous system, which is the servants to God. And they've really facilitated this system over the last 150, maybe even 250 years. That have just screwed our lives and cultivated their own power.
Yeah, it depends on how deep you want to go in terms of like what kind of time stamp you put on this, because it's been going on for a while now. But yeah, they're Satanists, very simply. That's just what it is. I think they're Satanists. I think that's what it is. They hate God. They hate authority that isn't them. They want to kill everyone. They want to bring AI into the world, which they kind of see as like summoning demons and such. They do little occult practices in the woods with giant statues. They dress in weird robes. They do various things that we're not going to be discussing. That of course came out in various conspiracy theories that came out in like 2016, 2017. They're very very involving various foods and such. I think it's pretty clear that this is like a spiritual war, very simply. So.
All right. Let's go at ending it when the live strikes about 1:30. So that'll be about 9 p.m. CST.
1:30. Okay.
Like
so you got another. I can't do math. You got another 18 minutes in you. 17 minutes actually. You got 17 minutes in you.
Yeah, we're gonna read some chat. It'll start popping up on the screen on the bottom. Yeah. So. Geez, there was questions at the beginning, but I can't even get to them because everyone's been spamming letter words in order to say some like Fed stuff.
So are they gone now?
Yeah, it's like if I scroll up, it'll go like 8:29, which is 10 minutes ago.
Yeah,
it's just been that much spam. So that's awesome. I'll actually look it up and then read it out loud. We'll do that. We'll do a little scrolling. No, I can't even scroll up all the way to there. That's awesome. Start putting some questions in chat. We'll get to that, and we'll keep talking until.
Yeah, if you drop a question in the chat, we'll get it and we'll do it.
I believe someone said earlier, as it relegates to like, what do you think the most important topic is right now? That's what someone asked earlier.
What do I think the most important topic is right now? That's the question.
Yeah, that was a question.
God, I gotta have a good answer for this one. This is like a me kind of question. This is a good question. I would say that the most important issue is actually personal wellness and personal, being physically, mentally, and spiritually healthy yourself. because when you are, you're going to naturally see things that you wouldn't when you're corrupted by sin and corrupted by vice, and you're fat and stupid and eating disgusting food every day and not working out. Like, really, if you wanted to like awaken people for them to see the truth, you do that by like you can make you crazy how much smarter someone is when they actually like stop eating junky, disgusting food and start working out and like clear their head of all this nonsense and get all these like destructive vices out of their head. Like, they will get a lot smarter and more aware. So I would say the most important issue is not a specific political issue in any regard. It's not like a certain policy. Like, the most important issue is immigration. The most important issue is immigration. It's not anything like that. I would say the most important issue is that individual people have been made very physically and spiritually unwell. And making those people well again will, of course, awaken them to all of the other issues that they face. So if you wanted to fix society, you need to start with the individual, because that is what we've been broken down to. We've been broken down to the individual, which is not even like the smallest, smaller than the smallest building block of society, truly. So the most important issue, as I'm saying, is to fix the spiritual and physical health of the individuals, truly.
Yeah. So we're getting a lot of questions coming in, some about unbanning. So true.
Unbanning various people in my server.
Some about unbanning. Oh, we love to hear it. Imagine your life as IKEA furniture, and the Bible's instructions to build said IKEA furniture. So true. So true.
Did I say that?
I don't know.
Is that a quote from me?
They quoted you on it,
God,
so
so
just
smart.
take it. Just take it.
So true, King. How about that? I don't remember. I don't remember anything I say, which is good. It's good that everything I say is intelligent. But like, if it weren't, it would be an issue. We're gonna. Yeah, I guess I said that. So yeah,
we're taking it.
We're taking it.
We say so many things. Say so many things all the time. Always speaking.
What else we got?
Someone asked for weekly Christian videos.
Weekly Christian videos? Yeah. Bro, I don't make I want everyone to know that I'm very meticulous with my creative process.
Oh, I accidentally put that there. Oops.
And it's like quality over quantity, which is why sometimes videos take a. It's not like I'm not obviously like I'm busy, so sometimes like I can't work on things as quickly, as much as I want to. But like, I will delay videos in order to make sure they come out perfectly, as far as I see. So I don't really, at the time being, I don't have the resources to do weekly videos. So I apologize for that.
Yeah, I've done the same thing. I have a video I've been working on for about a month that I've just wanted to get really perfect. So I've been delaying it for a while.
It's a tricky balance to hit, because nothing you ever make will ever be perfect, right? Yeah. So you got to acknowledge that too. But at the same point, like, that doesn't mean it can't be better. But it'd be better to do something bad than to never do it ever. So at the end of the day, it's this is something I was like, okay, well, I can put this video out now. Like, is it perfect? No, maybe I should give it some more time. At some point, there's a diminishing return where it's like, I just got to make this. I just got to put it out, because it's going to be good to a certain extent. Maybe it's not going to be perfect, but it's never going to be perfect. So
yeah, it's never going to be perfect, and neither are we going to be perfect without God.
Exactly.
And as a society,
so true.
We are a society that's been built with a couple of screws loose. We've been built without some certain parts that we need. The most center part to everything, we have been left without. We've been trying to build a house without the foundation, and we've had a collapsing structure as a result.
I just saw a comment. Sorry, I just saw a comment that said, Nathaniel ever read the document I sent him? I've read part of it. I will read the rest of it, I promise. Because it's an interesting document. You wrote it very specifically, actually, truly. But I will read it. I will read the document again. I am parsing through like 3 or 4 different important video topics right now that I'm trying to figure out how to like organize and post in a certain way. And also there's certain videos that are kind of expected from me, I suppose, like I hinted at, like a conspiracy theories video. So yeah, we'll figure it out. The document will be read in full, and you will receive a book report, not a book report. I'll give you some feedback on that, of course.
The Industrial Society and its future. So true. So
No,
true.
no, I don't know what you're talking about. I don't know what you're talking about. Yeah. Someone said, can we get based political book recommendations? Do you want to go through some book recommendations?
Sure.
Is that a good bit? You got to be more specific. Truly, let's look at my bookshelf.
My answer is always the Bible. That's always my answer.
That's a good one. 2 books I read recently by Matt Walsh, who's my favorite person from the Daily Wire, is The Unholy Trinity and Church of Cowards. Both books talking about Christianity, like modern Christianity. Both very good. There's another one called okay. There's a book called Correct, Not Politically Correct. I cannot remember who the author is. It's a little book. It's talking about just look it up. It's a good book. It's a really good book. It's a short read, but a very, very dense, good one. What's going on over there? I'm trying to like, I can't see it. I'm trying to read my bookshelf from here. I'm seeing the book for 48 Laws of Power is a good book. It's just an entertaining book, truly. I don't know. That's all I got right now. Yeah, that's all I got.
As far as writers, Matt Walsh, Michael Knowles are both very good writers. I like reading Andrew Breitbart sometimes. His books are very good.
I haven't read any Breitbart books. I should, though. I've got a couple Pat Buchanan books sitting on this bookshelf. Oh, there's a spider down there. That really signifies that I haven't cracked open those Pat Buchanan books. But I have those. I haven't read those yet. I'm currently reading 12 Rules for Life V2, aka 12 more rules for life by your boy JBP, obviously. What other questions we got?
The Handmaid's Tale. Oh, interesting.
It's based. I think The Handmaid's Tale was like a projection. I think I covered that in my
top political books or philosophical books. It was
I can't remember anything.
It was most important philosophical and most important political books.
Yeah, it was like top 5 most politically influential books or something. That's what it was.
Yeah.
And I covered
The
Handmaid's Tale. Videos. Well, thank you. I don't remember anything that I make.
I also like the philosopher video to top 10 philosophers.
I had to disavow part of that because I made Drake Bell one of the philosophers.
That was my favorite part of the video too. Is the Drake Bell bit, but it's not funny anymore.
I know. It's thank you, King. Those are both very good videos. I want to make more videos like that while also covering the more serious stuff I do at the same time, which is why there's a balance there that I'm trying to strike. So, what else we got?
Silly ukulele man, it's dropping all the metaphors here.
Silly ukulele man.
That's
can I get like thought-provoking ukulele man? No, beggars can't be choosers. I can't pick my own nicknames. I'll take silly ukulele man. I'm like I'm the court jester who's actually the one pulling the strings on the king. The king is my puppet. You don't know that though. All you see is the silly facade.
This question segment was a mistake. It's Vince Dow, a reincarnation of Ho Chi Minh.
No, Vince Dow was not a reincarnation of Ho Chi Minh. Vince now is Ho Chi Minh. They have an anti-aging process that they put him through, which also made him part Italian. Little side effect, but yeah, that's what happens.
How about top 10 scientists?
Top 10 scientists. That's a good video. I'm writing that down. That is a good video. Here, I'm gonna get a screen cap from this stream when I make the video. It's gonna be a minute. I'll tell you what. But I'm gonna put this in the video. Be like, look, this is where this video idea came from. It came from this stream right here. So that's a good video.
What if you made like a shit post and it was like 10 seconds long and it said top 10 scientists and then it ended?
Yeah, that'd be
a good bit.
Top 10 scientists. Thank you for watching.
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Well, I could do
top 10 scientists.
You can get a picture of me in a lap. I could do what I did philosophers, like top 10 greatest philosophers of all time. Number 1, me. I just like top 10 scientists. Number 1, me.
Number 2, they got the African claw frog study with atrazine.
That's a good one. The water was truly turning the frogs gay.
True.
Well, what I could do is I could take this reverse approach, and I could say top 10 scientists, and I could like talk about, let's say, the scientists who invented birth control, for example, and be like, wow, look at these great things these scientists did, and like go through them, but like in a very sarcastic, disparaging way, while still like actually informing and like having some content to the video.
Mhm.
Or I could just do top 10 scientists. Thank you for watching. We'll figure it out. We'll see.
Top 10 scientists, Phil Swift. So true. So true.
So true. I tend to think of Phil Swift as more of a philosopher than a scientist, but that's just me.
Yeah, I mean, he's really.
I should put him top 10 philosophers V2. Maybe he's on the list.
Oh, that'd be
Or
good.
maybe he's on the scientist list, and I could make the joke about him being more of a philosopher. That's going to go in the video. We're going to put this into the video, too.
Alex Jones is a real scientist. True.
So true.
Funny sweat man.
Funny, crazy, yelly sweat man.
Yeah. My favorite bit was when he crashed the Crowder Changed My Mind, and he started like ripping off his shirt and talking about how he was a woman now. That was my favorite bit.
I love Alex Jones. I will never not love Alex Jones. I don't care if he's. I don't care. You know, some people say like, Alex Jones is a fed. Alex Jones is that one comedian who died and kind of looks like Alex Jones. I don't care. I love him. I think he's funny. I got radicalized by him in geometry class in sophomore year, and then again in algebra class junior year. So
Always
whatever
should have
math I was
paid more
thinking.
attention in math class.
I did pay attention in math class. Not the attention they wanted me to pay, but attention was paid.
To the more important things, really. I mean, if you look at like the school structure, it was really originally created like if you read like Aristotle, Plato, read the founders like Brandon Rush that created the first public education system. It was to maintain a religious moral society, and now it's been propagated to maintain an atheist immoral society. And that's really what's been taught.
Did you hear me? The math is a psyop? Is that what you said? That's what I heard. Math is a psyop. Okay, hey. Don't ask any questions. This is the lid for the candle, by the way. It's vanilla pumpkin, like I said earlier. We're white pilled. Math is a psyop? Is that what you're saying? I totally agree.
Yeah.
You got any more questions, or what's
we'll
up?
always be told the solutions to these problems, but we're never told solutions to the world, which is God.
So true, King. What's a y equals mx plus b? I don't care.
We should get a shirt that says X equals God. That'd be perfect shirt.
Interesting. I think X is like, there's something about that letter that's like symbolic. I can't remember. I don't remember anymore. You got any more questions or anything?
Let's just end it off here. Ukulele expert, songwriter here, famous for writing "Craftin' and Nappin'."
So true.
Genius track.
I did write that song. I composed the beat too with my friend, with Cameron Patrick, who's also on that song. That song was my idea. That song is my child.
It is, and it's a beautiful child too.
Well, thank you.
But yeah, great to have him on the show. We planned this about a month ago. He was out for some period. We decided on today because we had some scheduling mess up. That was my fault. And then I fall asleep, but it's good that we got it going. And it's been a great show, even though I just woke up like, how long has this been started? An hour and 27 minutes? Okay, I woke up an hour and 37 minutes ago. So that's
so what happened was you said Central Standard Time, but I thought you said Eastern Standard Time. So it was like 7 p.m. Eastern Standard. I'm like, where is he? And then you messaged me. It's like, and then I went back and I was like, oh, Central Time. And then it was 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, and you were asleep. And then you texted me like 8 minutes later, you're like, oh, dang, bro, I just woke up. And I'm like, of course you did. So it's a good bit. We figured it out. We got it done. Thank you, everyone, for dropping in for the chat. And we need Craftin' and Nappin' Part 2. Maybe.
All right. Before we go, can we get we need to clap.
Oh, that's a bad one. Give me a second. Gotta warm up. Here, 1 sec. I gotta do my stretches. There we go. Okay. It's not that simple. It's very. It looks straightforward, but it's not. There we go.
Let's go.